welcome back to the Very Best Podcast. It is I, the one and only Cooks the Magnificent, and my lovely assistant, Strawberry the Mysterious. And here is our special guest, Wyatt the Serial Killer. Hello, Wyatt.
What? No! This would have been for the Halloween episode. What the heck?
You know what? By
This
the end
should
of
have
the
been-
podcast, we're going to want to kill Wyatt, so maybe you should rethink the opening.
Yes, and we are here because we do this podcast every single round of Survivor. So we're actually recording a podcast right now.
Yes, we are. We're recording a podcast.
And this is going to be a very tear-jerking episode of the podcast, and very exciting because, in my opinion, this was the most action-packed round of gameplay we've gotten all season, and this is the most, and in terms of crime scenes, this is definitely the most brutal we have come across.
You know, it was a good episode if Cooks paid attention. And Cooks paid attention.
I took a lot of notes. Every time somebody took a breath, I wrote it down.
I'm making a sim right now.
So,
And
what was our challenge? Our challenge was...
so our challenge was, I know who won, I just can't remember the challenge. Oh, it was the art one, the fake art challenge.
The fake art challenge?
Yeah, you know, where you have to do the most different colors.
Oh! Yes. So we did pixel art, and I wanted to have a fun, creative challenge. But I didn't want to have an art challenge, because what happens with an art challenge, everyone's like, oh, I'm not good at art, and they whine and complain. So this one, I had very concrete standards. Like, I'm a teacher, so I called it a rubric. So if your little pixel art looked like it was supposed to look, you got 10 points. If it was a small, medium, or large, you got between 5 and 10 points for that. And then I did color. And I said that you got 1 point for every shade or every different color of the same color. And we had a real discrepancy in the scores. A lot of people didn't actually do it, which made me sad.
Yeah, but here's the thing also. I love it. This happens at least once every season. Somebody looks at the rules of the challenge and does it in a way that they realize that there's an easier way to win during the rules. Kind of like hacking the challenge, but they're still like playing fair, where it was like, oh, that's in the confines of the rules we gave you, but we didn't think anybody would do it like that, and it makes the challenge just about 10 times easier to win. And honestly, I really like that type of creativity, but it also sharpens us as production. So we know, like, oh, if we do this challenge again, we can tweak it so that doesn't happen again. So in a way, by taking advantage of production like that, there's some real great trailblazing here. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm almost not even mad about it. Like, the fact that he made this... Well, first of all, he made Bugs Bunny because it had to be Looney Tunes. And then he made this gay pride flag behind it. And then did a rainbow.
Well, I didn't think about it when he was first doing it, because it was like Trav like going like gay pride, and I was like, oh, cool, gay pride, and I didn't think much of it. But then I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna score like so many points because he used every single shade in that flag.
Right
And it
now,
kind of made you realize that this isn't an art challenge. This wasn't. We kind of thought. I think Straw also kind of thought like this. You kind of thought that this was an art challenge where it was like, the prettiest art to use the colors the best would win. But not that Trav's art was bad, but it definitely wasn't the best looking. However, it was the highest scoring one for sure.
I know. Like, he literally got like 515 points, and the next highest point was 25.
Yeah. And so yeah, good on Trav.
And then it
And
was
I don't know,
killing
is
me
this too
because
last minute? Is this too last minute, Straw, to pull up some of the artwork and show it to the podcast people, or can we not do that?
um
I thought it might be a good idea to like show people the artwork, but if that's too much hassle, we don't have to.
well, it is kind of hassle, but let's see if I can do it. And what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about I was gonna say something about it. Oh, like I'm not even mad about the fact that he won because I almost liked it. He kind of like outside the lines, and it caused a little drama because um people are being like, Trav, you cheated, blah 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 blah. All right. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Phew.
What I like about Trav is that he is very charming, but in this game, he's known for being a little worm, and this challenge is a perfect example of his worminess.
You're calling him a worm. All right, let's.
What if we tell Trav you said that? Just kidding.
You can. I did just call him a bitch to his face
Oh,
on VC.
I can't get this thing to fit in it because it's like too small. All right, so this is what Trav did. You can see the rainbow behind Bugs. All those reds are a different shade of red. He went all the way down. He actually counted that he used 505 different colors. The one I feel that should have won, well, I don't even know. I might have gone with the gay pride flag only because there was a background to it too. But I really liked Max's.
Oh yeah, Max is with. Was that LeBron?
Yeah, from I don't know how to. Oh, this doesn't have a good background. Oh, hold on.
Why, you're young. The new Smash Mouth or whatever it's called, it has LeBron in it, right? Space Jam.
Space Jam. That's what I was thinking.
I think
Space Jam.
Does it? I don't know. I didn't watch
The old Space Jam had Michael Jordan, and the new one has LeBron. I remember it now. LeBron James.
I really liked it. I mean, he had 3 different elements, 3 different characters. I really liked it. And if I was scoring it any other way, I would have it would have been I think I would have gone Max.
Max was the most artful. However, the one that was made of Tweety looked really good, but it was just Tweety. But that was a really good one as well. Just getting the accuracy down on that bird.
Yeah. All right. So we went to the challenge. We went to who won immunity. Hold on. Now I got to get back my picture. Oh, I don't know how to get back my picture. All right. So Trav wins immunity, and then they're all trying to figure out what's going down. And
yes,
you said you took lots of notes on this.
Oh yeah. Well, this actually might have happened before the challenge. I'm not sure. Is there anything you want to talk more about the challenge, or is that just about it? That Trav is a trailblazing genius and all this stuff.
A trailblazing genius. Okay, I will go with that. I will tell you that. Oh, this is what I want to tell you about the challenge. Like, so people are doing the challenge. It's taking them a few hours to do the challenge. And the entire time, I know that there's no possible way they can win the challenge. Because I can't tell them there's no possible way you're going to win the challenge, because then they'll start thinking of like how that person win the challenge. So I had to keep my mouth shut, and these poor people like spent 2 hours doing Tweety Bird, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad.
Yeah, it's sad. But here's the thing: everybody had access to those rules, and if anybody took their two brain cells and rubbed them together like Trav did, they could have figured that out.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm ready to talk about. This round was a Shakespearean tragedy, I think, in proportion. Do you agree, Straw? Where there was so many characters, so many arcs, so much drama, and it ends with a very tragic death.
I know. I know. It was so sad. It was so sad because like I we can't give anything away, but like it changed the whole dynamic of the game who went.
That's funny because we said that about last one. Last one we were like, Tony getting voted out changes the whole game, and then this changed the whole game again.
Mm.
Like, this is a new season. This is season 14.
So I do.
So basically, do you have something to say? Because go ahead.
I don't know what I was gonna say. So they start strategizing on who to vote for, and it seemed like the entire time it was between Nathan and Max. And I was listening to Scott a lot, and Scott's like, he's like, I really. Oh, did you have anything in your notes about Scott and Nathan? About how they actually just finished playing an org together, and I guess Scott didn't realize it was the same Nathan. So when he realized it was the same Nathan, he tried to work with Nathan and Dongush, trying to figure out that he actually made an alliance to try to get Chase out. But then I don't think anything really happened with it until
Actually, I have it. Can we back it up? Because I have stuff that happened before that. Because I want to talk about the VC. Because I was on VC when everything when the first shot that started the war happened.
Go for it.
So basically, I was on. It was like 2 a.m. and my sleep schedule was pretty bad, so I was awake. And the players are always awake at 2 a.m. VCing together. And sometimes I hop on and listen to it. And Chase won immunity the round before this. And then after that, basically, and all the ego, it went straight to Chase's head. Where Chase was just like, all being like, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. And they just felt they were on top of the world and they were unstoppable, and they acted like that to everybody, and it rubbed people the wrong way on the VC. On the VC, everybody from that main alliance, Trav, Max, Dongush, were all there, but Scott wasn't there.
And this is what got Chase in trouble, because Chase was telling him this was our final 4 or 5, and we're gonna cut Scott at 5.
No, Chase was saying they cut Scott at 7. Actually, we'll get to the 5 part later, but that was actually a lie by Dongush. But yeah, Chase was saying we need to cut Scott at 7, and everybody was kind of like, what? And Chase was saying all this stuff. And then Chase was started like pressuring Max to tell everybody they had a safety without power and saying things, oh, if you're really with us, why would you blah, 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 blah. And that rubbed people the wrong way too. And there was a whole bunch of stuff like that. And also, the main part was they were discussing on who to vote out next between Nathan and Squeet. I think Chase wanted it to be Squeet, but everybody else wanted to be Nathan because he said Nathan was more likable, and that was a big part of contention, and that caused a big conflict where some people felt like Max kind of felt like he was saying stuff like who was more on like the Nathan side, and some other people were like, how come these people always get to choose who goes home, like, or like maybe Chase was saying that, but like that there was, it started to get pretty heated over that, just like choosing who to send out, Nathan or Squeet.
Because the next morning, it was between Nathan and Max. Because they wanted to get rid of Max, but... Wait, Scott wanted to get rid of Max, but Chase wanted to get rid of Nathan. And Scott didn't want to get rid of Nathan because Nathan and him had that... org they just played, and they had a little bit of a relationship, and he trusted Nathan more. So I was reading Scott CF's, and he's just like, I don't want Max, and I don't want Nathan. And I'm like, well, then what are you gonna do? I mean, why is there? I mean, like, I'm trying to, like, I didn't say anything, but I'm like, why is there only two options? There's all these people you can choose from.
Yeah. And then not long after this VC, Dongus was talking in their confessional, and I'm not sure when they talked to Scott about this, but they were saying in their confessional, I think Chase needs to go out next. Sometimes people say that and they go back. So like, I wasn't sure if that was actually going to happen, but it wasn't long after Dongus was like, that conversation made me realize that Chase needs to go next vote.
And he needed to go next vote because he has the idol too. And if in order to get Chase out, they needed to blindside him.
The part also was Straw revealed to everybody that next round there was a twist. And everybody was talking about how they think it's going to be a demerge and how easy it would be for Chase to make Final Six with an idol.
I know. These people just make up their own stuff.
Yeah.
I suggested a demerge though, and then I found out that it was actually already being suggested by other people. I didn't know though.
So the outsiders are down for voting out Chase, is why I've written in my notes, because Chase has no idea that this is happening. As far as Chase knows, Chase settled and they were like, okay, let's vote Nathan, and that's what Chase thinks is happening. But Chase doesn't want to tell Sarin, and they think this is going to be a huge blindside on Sarin. And they go to their one-on-one expecting for Sarin to like beg for their life, thinking that they're in trouble. And that's what Chase wants Sarin to do, because they just want the satisfaction of Sarin begging to them. But Sarin didn't beg because she's already been told by multiple people that, I think Sarin thinks that Max is going home or something, which I think the thing is, they have this whole idea about kind of splitting the votes between Max and Chase because they don't want one of them gone because they're so close and Chase has the idol. And so Sarin doesn't feel like they need to beg because Chase thinks they're in on the loop, but actually Chase is out of the loop and they're acting really cocky about it.
Yeah, and that whole thing, and after your tribal questions, that was that
Yeah.
thing.
Their confessional, it got heated, but I think in a fun way, but it got heated. Yeah, this is also kind of poetic because they mentioned on voice chat at the same time that Chase has never been able to make it past the final 9 before.
Yes, we did talk about that when we were on doing our interview with him. Like, why don't you use your idol?
Yeah, and Chase um yeah, it would be a great idea to use your idol in that case, like just to beat your record, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Um
So I think a lot of it, and then the day of the tribal, I mean, everybody just, like that morning, nobody knew where the votes were going to be. They didn't know if it was going to be Nathan or Max. And then there was Chase. His name wasn't real. Chase's name was there the night before. But Scott had decided that, because Don Goosh told Scott about the conversation they had in VC. First, Scott was mad and was like, Chase needs to go. He's going to cut me at 5. Chase needs to go. But then overnight or whatever, he thought about it more. And he's like, oh, well, I know why Chase said that, because he was in VC with everyone. It's probably not even true. So then he was trying to figure out a Max or a Nathan. And then, do we know, in your notes, do you know when it actually changed to Chase? Because I feel like they wanted to do Chase, but they weren't really sure who they could trust to vote with them and who they could trust.
yeah. So yeah, Nathan and Trust. I have something written down about that. But yeah, Squee ends up telling Nathan that that Don told Nathan that he doesn't trust Squeet. Don told Squeet that he doesn't trust. No, Don told Nathan that he doesn't trust Squeet, and then they converse between each other. And so Squee and Nathan are actually a duo, but they're trying to hide it from everybody else because obviously Don did not think that they would converse that to each other.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about the Nathan and Squeet duo?
They've been a duo since forever.
Wait,
What do you think about
I
it?
feel like, didn't Squeet vote for Nathan?
Oh, they're a duo.
Are you sure? I'm going to look this up.
Oh, they're talking about being a duo, so that's what I thought.
All right, you're right. He voted for Max.
Hey, Nathan and Squeet worked very closely together that whole vote.
Oh, remember
and they had a lot of plans going on. Yeah, we'll get there, yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah. They're the sneaky duo right now, Nathan and Squeet. I think that's the most solid duo left in the game because I feel like from the way Don Goosh is playing, Don Goosh is a person that really can have a solid duo because he'll stab anyone in the back.
Wait, we just had a long talk with Trav, who said he'd give up his game for Max.
Yeah, but that's a new thing. I would say Max and Chase were more of a duo before that. Mm-hmm. Nathan and Squeet are a pretty strong duo. But, so, from what Nathan and Max, from what Nathan, Squeet, actually, Nathan is, I think, brought in to vote Chase, but Squeet and Sarin are voting Max, so can you break down this plan? It does. I understand it, but it does confuse me a bit. So I think that there's this whole vote split happening, but the way it's organized is that so like
I
the
don't think. But
outsiders
the
kind
thing
of think
is,
that's going to be a.
the thing is, I don't think there was a vote split. I think people were hearing Nathan, people were hearing Max, and that's all they were hearing because you saw Nathan in his tribe, CF spinning a wheel and it landed on Max and then he ended up voting Max.
Oh, you got that backwards. Max spun the wheel. Nathan was in on the plan and voted for Chase.
Oh, all right. Well, if you use the wrong names, I can use the wrong names. And then
So yeah, Max spun a wheel and it ended up landing on the same person that he was going to vote for anyway, which was Nathan.
Okay.
So Nathan, Chase, and Trav are left out because they think that they are. Dong and Scott think that they're too close and would snitch to Chase. And so they left them out of the plans and voted to vote for Nathan, who they think is the next to go from what they decided. And then Seren and Squeet think that there's like this vote split going on and Max is going home for some reason or something like that. And then Dong, Scott, Brandon, which they scoop Brandon up easy by letting him know that the reason he got blindsided, they said they put all the blame on Chase. That was really well done on their point. Scott just went to Brandon and was like, hey, the whole last vote and you getting blindsided, that was all Chase. Are you down to blindside them? Scott just very simply put, yes. Like Scott, not much of a talker. I mean, Brandon. So Scott talked to Brandon about blindsiding Chase, and Brandon basically just said, yeah, I'll do that. That's all he said. He did. Brandon's not a very spicy conversationalist.
No.
And
they brought Nathan
so
in. And Nathan
framed it in a way that they put all the blame on Chase, so he felt like, oh yeah, this will be the move of the season. They got me, I'll get them. So they scooped up Brandon that way. And then this alliance that Dong has going with Nathan, they really legitimize it here by like letting him know kind of what's going on and to vote for Chase. Which Nathan has his fire making idol and he held it, which was a very risky move on his part because it was a 1 vote difference between him staying and going.
So Scott makes an alliance chat with Nathan and Donkush, and he calls it Avengers Endgame. And he starts off by saying this. Hold on. What was the first thing he said? Nate, you've been on the bottom from pretty much the whole merge. Dawn and I have been in the majority. It's time to run the game together. I'm tired of being told what to do. The three of us put our large brains together and take over. And our first task, in my opinion, is to go after the trio that thinks they are running the game and cut them down a huge notch. But like, if I was going to talk about a huge duo, it would be Scott, Dongoose, and Chase. And then
that's a trio.
For some reason, they think Chase. They're trying to make it sound like Chase is working with Max and Trav, and that's the trio. So
yeah.
So then they're trying.
I do feel like he does. Chase does have something with them, but even from Chase's perspective and ours perspective, we know that that's the real trio. But the people see it the other. The players saw it the other way,
So they said, whatever we decide here, though, we can't have the 2 additional people voting with us leak anything. And then they said what you said, Brandon, they'll just blame his getting being left out of the vote on Chase. Um, and then they're trying to decide if they want to bring in Seren and Squeak, and neither of them seemed trustworthy. And Squeak leaked the Tony vote last round, so they were both left out. And then they decided that it was just too risky, and then they decided to go back, and I think they decided to go back and vote Max because they knew that Seren was voting Max. But then, so then they decided, like, let's just go for it. Let's just go Chase.
Yeah. This is a very well orchestrated plan by Dong and Scott. They were both completely on the same page here. They were the masterminds this round. Was it a good overall move? It was very well executed. It was a very well executed move, but should it be executed? Should it have been executed? Only time will tell, really.
Oh, and this is what you were talking about with Nathan and the fire making item. Nathan knew that the votes were going to be split. Nathan knew that it was going to be split between Chase, Nathan, and Max. Okay, they were pretty sure they knew where the votes were going, but Nathan's name was still out there, and he still sat on his idol, and he still didn't play it.
Yeah, and he was so relaxed, he didn't even show up for when the votes were being read, when he got pinged 3 times, and he had no reaction to it in his confessional after the votes were read. It was like, is this guy a corpse? Did his heartbeat, like, get raised at all? Like, what? Like, he's stone cold.
I know.
He'll go to Rocks like it's a Tuesday, and he'll be 1 vote away from going home, and doesn't feel a thing.
And then we've got a whole alliance formed with Squeak, Max, Trav, and Dongush. Oh, this is what I was confused about. This is where I got my information from. I'm not making my stuff up, people. Squeak makes an alliance chat. With
Called Vote Nathan.
Called Vote Nathan. Do you think he was just trying to get information from them?
Yeah, that was all just bull crap because he was never voting Nathan in the first place.
Okay.
That was just like product of their little charade that they were doing in Tribe, which we can get to that because that was actually a part of that. Should we get to the tribal questions?
Yeah. Oh, then there was one more with an alliance chat. Be very, very quiet. We're hunting Chase with Nathan, Brandon, Scott, and Dongush. Those were the power players this round. So
and I think that Dongush kind of wants to take. Do you think Nathan is temporary in Dongush plan, or is that like the foursome now? In his mold.
I feel like he thinks, like, I don't know why he's not thinking he should go to the end with Brandon. I think that everyone would not respect it because I don't know what Brandon's doing. Never let me catch.
Brandon can't win.
Yeah, so maybe, but I don't know why he's not mentioned at all. Maybe because Brandon's closer to a Scott. But I think he's thinking...
Well, Brandon could win. Never know. Brandon could win, but I don't think so.
Yeah. All right, go to your tribal questions.
So yeah, my tribal questions were the best I ever wrote, like I said in the interview. They sparked so much conversation. I really hit the sweet spots. And people took advantage of them.
Don't you love it when you hit the sweet spots?
Is it the sweet spot or is it I guess it's kind of like the bitter spot because um, things got spicy.
Things got spicy. And you remember you DMing me and being like, you gotta read what's happening in Tribe Chat right now.
Yeah, so I'll go with the two main things right now, but basically I just asked, how did this start? I'll start with I'll go over the two fights and how that happened, because there was two public fights in Tribe Chat. And there were some other good answers besides that, like Don Gushin was a good one as well.
Yeah.
Chase was a good one. So while this was happening, Chase was really flexing on Sorin and kind of like beat them down when they thought they were up and they thought they were down. So I kind of asked them a question if their immunity win gave them an ego, and if that was a good thing or a bad thing. And this started a huge fight where actually I'll start with the fake fight first because that happened first. Nathan says, this was Nathan's question. I asked him, you went to Rocks in the pre-merge. Has your game settled down since then? Or do you still feel like the Tasmanian devil is spinning you around? Why or why not? And he says, only reason I went to Rocks pre-merge was because I wanted that extra vote, and that was the only chance I had to get it. Also, keeping J-Soy was a plus, since overall I did like him when he was here. I feel like everyone's game is spinning, though, including my own. You can never be too confident in who your allies or enemies are. And then Tweet replies, I agree with the last sentence. Not telling anyone on Daffy Duck about the fucking extra vote and causing us to lose wide over Reese, just for it to be known by everyone. And before he sent this, he asked Nathan in his one-on-ones, he was like, Nathan, you want to do a fake fight so people don't think we're duo in Tribe Chat? Which I think is actually a great move. When this fight started, I kind of thought it was fake and checked to see if it was fake, and it was. So I don't know how many other people picked up on it. Chase kind of said in their interview they were wondering if it was real or not. But I think it's a good idea because people were talking about worrying about Squee and Nathan as a duo. And I do think that this worked on some level to make people feel like they're not working so closely together and get underestimated.
Yeah. I mean,
and then Nathan replies, wait, what the fuck? This happened like 7 rounds ago. And Squeak says, you brought it up. I was just answering the question, laughed my ass off. And Squeak goes, I'm just going to say it for anyone who hasn't opened their eyes yet. Me and Nathan may be from the same tribe, but we aren't a duo, especially since he left me in the dust. I just want to add. And Nathan says, I mean, since you threw out my name, yeah, that was obvious, especially after I didn't do shit to you. It's like when Trav vote failed, you didn't want any accountability or blame, so you threw me under the bus. And Squeak says, I didn't though. You fully told me you take the blame. Not what I heard, says Nathan. Squeak, now you're turning around. Nathan, no. I said I take accountability for starting it if people talk to me about it. If not, that was... And they go on and on and on. But it sounds so contrived, but it's fun. I love it when people do fake fights. It reminds me of something I saw in Survivor Michigan, where, like, I think that's a good strategy to make people think that you're not a duo, is to pretend to have a fight publicly.
Yeah, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it well.
Yeah. I don't know how well this was, but it was definitely fun, and you gotta appreciate the attempt, especially since I feel like we talked about Squeak's like immunity wins and stuff. I feel like their duo with Nathan right now is basically what's most notable about them, right?
Yeah, I feel like that, and I feel like they leak.
Yeah, and Squeak even doubled down on it, using this fight as more leverage to make it sound like it. He literally makes a alliance called Vote Nathan, which he never like following up on. But the thing is, he doesn't stab Nathan in the back doing this because these are people that were already going to vote for Nathan anyway, and that was the plan, and Nathan would stay. And so he knew would never follow through anyway. But that was just like to help them seem like they're not as like close. He was like, hey, I tried to get people to vote him out, but he knew it wasn't going to work anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was smart.
And and then Chase answers their question about me asking about their ego. And then that sparks like Sarin and Chase like trying to gouge each other's eyes out. And so then we have Nathan's fight still going, and Sarin and Chase yelling at each other in tribe chat.
We had the trifecta of fights. But as
And there's little things like that. Like Chase kind of picked up on this. They said this in the interview. If they read through the lines a little bit more, they might have played their idol. Because my question was very suspicious. Like it was kind of doom and gloom. You know what I mean?
oh yeah.
And Dongush's question was, I was going to talk about this when we were interviewing, but I stopped myself. But my question to Dongush was, how often do personal relationships and game relationships cross over? How do you think the jury should feel after you might have built a strong bond with them and sent them packing? Which is, people will think that they're talking about Tony, but we're actually talking about how Dongush is about to take out Chase, which Dongush is very emotional about. Like it was kind of like Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. You know how, the quote, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I want to play this clip from Scott. He calls it my little epitaph to his buddy Chase. And then you guys can read the transcript while I play it, and then we can talk about it.
Oh, my little epitaph here for my buddy Chase. I got to tell you, Chase, I don't know if you're able to, you're probably not able to hear this, but maybe after the season, you were a good ally. I really, in the beginning of the game and even at merge, I had every intention of the 3D birds going to the final three. I wasn't blowing smoke up your ass. I was absolutely dead, balls on accurate that I wanted the final three to be 3D birds. That's why I gave you the idol. And I gave Dom the safety without power.
Is there anything else
and I
we're
kept
gonna
the
talk
extra
about?
vote. That's why, even though
Yes,
when the
Charles is playing
Trav thing happened at final, was that final 13? There were so many extra votes and advantages played. I forgot what round that was. That's why I voted log with my extra vote, and I used the extra vote, even though I wanted to keep it, and even though I really wanted Trav out. I did it because I wanted us in the final three. You, my friend, I love you to pieces, but you have to learn. When you're playing Survivor, it's one thing to be a little confident, cocky. It's just your personality and it's your charm. I really am charmed by you. But game-wise, you way ruined a good thing. Once you started talking to Don, you can never assume that everybody is your number one. Or you're everybody's number one. I've done that before, because I have a damn good social game too. And I made that mistake and it bit me in the ass. That's where you went wrong. You figured you can tell Trav, you can tell Max, or in this case, Don, anything about your plan, and then it's not going to go back to me. You'll learn, buddy. You'll learn. I know it's only like your fourth game. You have a lot of potential. I'm sorry, man, but it had to be done.
All right. So what I want to talk about after this is he's telling Chase that you can't assume that everyone's your number one. But isn't that what Scott did? He assumed Don Goosh was his number one. He assumed Chase was his number one. He gave away advantages. They told everybody everything the entire game until Chase was voted out. And Scott's advice to Chase was, well, you shouldn't assume everybody's your number one. Did you guys all fall asleep during that?
No.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I feel like you put it so well. I didn't have anything to add.
Yeah. So then I asked him, would your game have been easier if you didn't do the same thing with the 3D birds? Tell them about all your advantages. I know why you gave them your advantages, but I also don't know why you didn't keep it a secret. Like, I understand why he gave his advantages to them. It was because he wanted to solidify that final 3, and you're less likely to vote out somebody that gave you an advantage. And then this is what he says.
Honestly, when I met Chase and Don, I felt the three of us had a game connection that I rarely see. I play a lot of orgs, and I just had a very good vibe about both of them. Apparently, I was 1 for 2 because my vibes were correct. My gut was correct on Don, not with Chase. I have no regrets in sharing advantages. It kept them close to me. If anything, they would have trouble turning on me right away. Chase apparently got power hungry. And like I said, my gut is usually right, maybe 75 to 80% of the time. I'm batting 500 this game. It's not terrible. Do I keep the advantage a secret? The way I look at it is I could have. In the past, I've done that. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. I just had a good feeling about it. And I know I gave Chase the idol, and then ultimately that was one of the reasons why we cut him off. But that's the way Survivor's played sometimes.
All right. And this quote, he talks about how he has a really good read on people, but he does not see that Don Goosh is planning on cutting him too. And Don Goosh is planning on cutting him too.
Yeah. Oh, and this was the lie I was going to. Don Goosh told Scott that Chase was planning on cutting them at final 5, but when Chase actually said final 7, and the reason he lied about that was because Don Goosh does plan on eliminating Scott at one point, so it doesn't seem suspicious. It makes Scott really believe that Don Goosh is going to take him for longer if he's telling him about a plan of him getting eliminated at final 5 instead of final 7, because it makes Scott feel like Don Goosh wants him around for that long if that's the plan that he's foiling rather than final 7, if that makes sense.
Yes. And then we got, after the vote, we have Don Goosh. I feel like garbage. I am garbage. What a shitty thing to do. He was my friend. He is my friend. And I kicked him to the curb like he was nothing. Bro, Brandon and Squeed are in the game right now over him. That just doesn't feel right. I thought after pulling off one of the biggest blindsides this season, I would get a rush. I would feel victorious conquering one of the smartest people in the game. But the truth is, I feel empty. I feel crushed. I feel like I completely fucked over somebody that I care about, and that's exactly what I did. Call me selfish, call me sadistic, call me whatever you want. I probably deserve it. What this tells me is I've done a great job of hiding what kind of player I am. But the cat is out of the bag now. I am an extremely self-interested player. I will say and do whatever I need to get to the end with people I can beat. And I feel I've done that. Chase had an idol and had allies that set him up to go deep in the game. He wanted to take me to the end, and he meant it. But I'm not playing for second place here. Chase leaked so much of what I told him without checking with me. Was a bully at time and a loudmouth. I love him, but it's true. And he's the type of person that makes me super uneasy to take to the end game. For those of you keeping up with my confessionals, you know not wanting Chase out is nothing new. I clocked him as a threat. I wanted to ride and then take him out early, and that's exactly what I did. But that doesn't mean it's easy on the field. He totally dragged me through the mud on his way out. What is he has every right to do, but it still hurt. He called out my swap, which is fine. I'm planning on playing it anyway this round. I thought he'd be able to take it with a little more dignity, and he didn't, and that's fine. I probably would have been worse in his shoes. And then he starts he's talking about what you have to do in order to win the game. And I feel like he starts talking about like you have to be a real sociopath to be good at these sorts of games. But
Yeah, you do.
but you have to have a certain degree of separation between yourself and the game. And I think this is exactly what we were talking about when we were interviewing Chase. Like Chase was like, I told him about my breakup. We cried on VC. And Don Goosh is like exactly what I had said. Like he separated himself from the game. Like he can be on that level with Chase where he's crying about his, his ex or whatever, and he can be like, okay, I'm voting you out. Like to him, it's like, of course he knows that he shouldn't have done it or whatever, but it's not at the level where people have been calling, after this vote, have been calling Don Goosh dirty. And I don't feel like Don Goosh thinks he's playing dirty. I think he thinks he's playing to win. Do you guys think he's playing dirty? What do you guys think?
I think he thinks he's playing dirty, but he's just playing to win.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Survivor is about playing dirty, so like, kind of.
It's both.
You know what I mean? Like, he's playing like a good Survivor game, which is dirty.
Yes, exactly. Like you can't, but I feel like you can also play Survivor and you can be the nice guy too. I mean, we were just talking to Trav and Trav's like, Max Mike's number one. I'll, fall for him and, I'll get out before he does. And like, that's not a winning mentality. Like, and I don't think like people realize like some people play the game for the fun of it. But other people play for the win. And people don't understand that you play this game for like a month. You put like a month into, month of work into it. Like every day, going on, talking to people. Like you put so much time into it. And I think other people just like, they check in once in a while, like see how things are going, who you're going to vote for. So I feel like the really players that play with their heart and that play the game hard. I don't even know where I was going with this.
Basically, you're having to explain why Don Goosh is feeling as bad as he is and the issues with that for his game, I think.
Oh, well, yes, because Trav is like, I'm playing to have fun. If I can go home instead of Max, that's fine with me. And Don Goosh is like, I'm winning this game no matter what, no matter who I have to cut. And it's just like a different level of player. Because Trav, with that mentality, is probably not going to win. Dongush going.
Okay.
I really think that if Dongush went to the end with Scott and Chase, Dongush would win. I feel like Dongush has the better social game. He has connections with everybody, and I feel like we were talking. When we were talking to Chase, he's like, "Oh, those people didn't even talk to me," and I feel like the same with Chase, and I feel like Dongush talks to everybody.
That might have been a mistake blindsiding Chase.
We won't know for a little while. So then Squeed is saying how he's like what you said, he's playing up the facade that him and Nathan don't like each other. Um and I feel like everybody I feel like nobody really Don Goosh has to do a whole lot of damage control. And I won't go into too much details, but he has time to do damage control. And I feel like he can. I feel like Dongush will just be be like Dongush and just like start chatting and people will see his charm and be like, oh yeah, this is the Dongush we really like. And I feel he can do it, but he has to do a lot of damage control because everyone says, oh, well, if he can just cut Chase like that, he can just cut me like that.
Talking about how Trav figured out something was going on, but he was wrong because he thought that something was up, but he thought Nathan was going to play an idol, and that's what it was. And then Trav being suspicious sparked off Chase being suspicious, but Chase thought Trav was just causing chaos for the sake of it, and Trav knew about some sort of blindside happening to him, and Chase considered playing their idol, and Travis told Squeet that he thinks Nathan is going to play an idol, and they need to and they need to be prepared for that, and then Squeet tells Nathan that, and they have a laugh about it. Did you hear me? I remember you asked us, you asked me and Wyatt if you fell asleep after the recording. After you played the recording, did you hear anything we said the whole time?
I was talking and then I realized nobody was answering me, so that was a problem.
So after you played the Scott recording, everything I said to make it on the podcast.
I don't know. It's not my fault.
Well, my crown goes out to Scott because he was the mastermind this round.
That's funny.
He was the one that told him Brandon and everything, and Scott and Dongush were hand in hand, but I feel like Scott was more of the just like if you had to split the effort, I think it was like a 6 effort for Dongush and 6 effort Scott and 4 effort Dongush if I were to split it.
But the thing is I don't think it matters who put in the work. I feel like Scott needed a little push, and I feel like if it wasn't for Dongush giving the little push, that Scott wouldn't have done it. And I'm not saying that this is a good move. We don't even know that yet. It was a move. It was a exciting move. But I'm giving my crown to Dongush.
I'll give my crown to Dongush too because it was the one that brought in Scott in the first place. You're right.
Yes. So let's see. We gave our crowns. We can talk about our predictions. What do I predict?
I hope I'm in this podcast. I don't know how much made it.
I feel that Max and Trav have a lot more power than anybody is giving them credit for. And I feel like they can take out Chase and they can take out Dongush. And this is the first time I think all game that someone other than a granny can pull off a move like this. And I really want to see a Trav Max take out. Like, I don't want him to take out Dongush because I feel like Dongush, I like him as a player, and don't get me wrong, I like Scott as a player. I really like him. He's a really great guy. I do feel like, I feel like he is really sure of himself, and he thinks he's playing a real great game, and he probably is. But when somebody takes out that person that thinks that they're playing a really excellent game, it is so much fun for everybody else to watch.
Also, like, overconfidence can be your downfall because Scott completely believed Dongush's lie, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, but Dongush got Scott to believe that he's taking him basically to Final Four, and Dongush isn't planning to do that, but that's what Scott thinks is happening.
Yes, and he was talking about Chase being power hungry, and I feel like Scott might be doing the things that he was saying Chase was doing. All right, so I guess maybe we'll say goodbye here, and then we will see what happens next time.
All right, bye.
With our song.
True friends last forever, forever friends stay strong. True friends go together like melody and song. When I'm feeling blue, we smile our way through. Near or far, wherever, true friends, me and you. Special girls, the very best of friends. Side by side until the very end. That's what friends.
That's what friends do.
I know I
I
can.
know I can count on you. Your friends last forever, forever friends stay strong. True friends go together like melody and song. When I'm feeling free, help me smile my way through. Near or far, wherever, I'll be here
Oh,
for you.